How to sign in?
Yep.
All right, that's it, Michelle. Okay. So what questions did you guys have from going over the scripts? How'd that go with the objections that were coming up? And what are the objections that you're currently getting on the phone when you're calling expireds?
The spring one's a huge one. Can you,
Okay.
yeah.
So you're getting people saying, we want to wait until the spring.
Yeah.
That is a huge one. So how do we overcome that? What's the best way to overcome that objection? If it's an objection, sometimes it's a condition where they just cannot sell it until spring. But most of the time, our house was on the market for a year, it didn't sell. We need some time to decompress. We're going to wait until the spring to put it back on. Or we know the market's better, there are more buyers in the spring, so we want to wait until that time to put our house back on the market. What do we say?
There's one of the ones in here.
Yes.
It says, you know, if offer was presented to you today, would you still, would you entertain that offer? Would you take that offer?
Okay.
Maybe play off there. If they said yes,
Yes.
then, you know, the market is still great. And
No, I think where you're going is great.
and the inventory is still low. So if you were to sell at this point, you may get more money today than you would in the spring when there will be a lot more properties on the market.
Yeah.
That's great.
So Dan, you know me. I think what you said is correct. I think we need to ask questions.
That's, yeah.
So what's the advantage you have of waiting until spring to sell your house? Well, it's a better market. So in the springtime, most sellers are thinking like you, and they're thinking, let's wait until the spring to put our house on the market. So when all those sellers put their house on the market at the same time, what does that flood of inventory do to home prices? Just be quiet. And get them to say, well, they're probably lower. Yeah, they are. And if you could sell your home now when there's less inventory, do you think you could sell it for more money or less money? Well, probably more. Get them to give you that answer.
So we got to convince them that, because I think a lot of people are under the impression that when they put their house on the spring market, they're gonna. That's like that's the answer for them. But
Bidding on
So
Well, they think that their houses show better in the spring when the trees are in bloom and the grass is showing and the pool's open.
they do show better. However, there are people right now that need to buy a house because they're moving here for work or their home finally sold and they need a place to go and there's not a lot of inventory. And so if your house is on the market, you have a great chance of getting your home sold. And we have to have that conversation with them. Now, again, if it's a condition, it's a condition. But we have to show value on why we should be putting our house on the market now and not waiting until the springtime. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with interest rates, with this tax reform. I don't know what's happening, period. We can't predict that market. And if you guys have been in real estate for 10 years, you remember back in, 06, 07, 08, people were thinking, hey, I'm going to ride this out. My house values are going up and up. And then overnight, crashed. So we can't predict the market. If we could, we all be really rich right now. We can't predict it. We know what's happening right now. And we know that when the homes are priced correctly, we have tons of people showing up at open houses and writing offers. So if we can price their home now when there's less inventory, it's better for them. And so we just have to convince them of that. And we have to ask questions, because if we tell them, it's our opinion. If they come to that conclusion on their own, it's fact. So we need to get better at asking questions.
Yeah, let me ask you, would you rather run a race against 3 people or 30 people? Which one do you think you have a better chance of winning?
Depends on who those 30 people are.
Right?
That's a good one.
No, but it's really good.
You got to realize those 3 people are also in the 30. So if you price your house correctly, because you are in a competition, if you're going to price your house correctly and get this house sold versus 3 people, you got a great shot of winning the race. When there's 30 extra people and there are 27 extra people, now it's up for grabs.
Right.
Yeah.
And see, I think that's why we need different role play partners, because I have my way of answering that question. Dan had his way of answering it. And I love your race analogy. We have to have different ways to get our point across, because sometimes people just don't hear us the first and second time we say something. And we have a habit of getting pushback, giving our objection, not getting the appointment. And Scott and I were just talking about this.
Yeah.
We say, okay, well, I'll follow up with you. I'll call you this spring, and we get off the phone. we may never have the opportunity to get that person back on the phone.
Right.
So when we are talking with them and they're engaged and they're giving us objections, they're giving us objections because they want to continue the conversation. Our job is to say something that resonates with them where they see the value of meeting with us.
I told you, Dave, when I first started making the calls,
Yes.
you know, it's just, I guess it's just my nature, or it might be just human nature, that, you know, I would ask a few questions and, okay, now I'm starting to, okay, I'm going to wrap up the phone call. All right, let me
Yep.
wrap it up. You know, I'm thinking about wrapping up the phone call,
Yes.
you know, and I'm just letting them off the hook.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it hit me. Why am I hanging up the phone?